اوكي بريخ رمشو حوروني بريخ رمشو مفرجوني وحازوي اديوما توي مليذن بونجلي شويو طلبنا شبخونا ماني دلك فهمي أونجلي شويو كبخو مستعملوتو وتكنيك دو حاسد كيتو دو ترجمو بلكي مترجموتو أونجلي شويو لو سريايو إن لاوي أديوما بطبك مورحي بلكي جورج منطيلا ميدي حاثو وسريايو مترجم لو أونجلي شويو وأونجلي شويو مترجم لو سريايو. So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this session, in which we want to announce the person who received the HELGA ANSCHÜTZ Prize, the HELGA ANSCHÜTZ Award, which we are giving every 2 years. So I welcome you to this meeting and wish you a nice evening with us. Allow me first to share with you my screen now, so we can start. So, we'll share. Yes, the HELGA ANSCHÜTZ Award 224 ceremony, in which we are presenting the prize, and the prize winner. The winner, as you see, is our colleague and friend, known to almost everybody who is in the field of Syriac studies or is a Syrio. It is Dr. George Anton Kiraz from Princeton University and many other affiliations too, of course. But we will hear about George a little bit more later. I'm happy that in addition to George, whom we have with us and whom I welcome now, we have also Barbara Üzel with us, who is going to give a laudatio after my presentation. Now, what is actually the HELGA ANSCHÜTZ Award and why we are giving it and to whom we already gave this prize? This is what I want briefly to explain in my introductory in my introduction. So the prize has the name of the late Dr. HELGA ANSCHÜTZ, who died in May 2006. Dr. HELGA ANSCHÜTZ is an ethnographer. She's a historian, a German historian, and or would we say ethnographer? And she is, according to my knowledge, the first one who visited our people in their homelands. So she is the first one who went by her car from Germany until Tehran to visit the Assyrians. This was what she was looking for. She started in September 1961. She was actually a teacher at the Goethe Institute of German, and she had students who called themselves Assyrians, and she was surprised having Assyrians until today, so she wanted to visit them, and she took or she bought a car, a small car called NSU Prinz 3, yeah, this kind of car, and and she went from Germany until Tehran. And if you imagine the map in your imagination, then you know that the way to Tehran, if you go from here, you have to go through Turkey, and then through eastern Turkey, and then of course through Turabdin. And this is her first contact to people also from Turabdin. From 65 onwards, she had several travels in Turabdin. She visited almost all villages. She visited the most important people in that region until the 90s, actually. And she made the first pictures and videos from Turabdin to present them to the German society. And this is actually, of course, we have pictures from the 1898 and 1909, but from modern times, I think HELGA ANSCHÜTZ belongs at least to the to the first ones who traveled in Turabdin and made pictures, and which are partly until today available. She made pictures not only from villages and villages, so people and houses, towns. She made also pictures from manuscripts. So the first pictures of these very important manuscripts are done by herself, and she showed them in exhibitions in Germany. This evangeliary from Hah, which we know now much better, but at that time this was maybe the first pictures to show to the people the Syriac calligraphy, the Syriac way of making miniatures in the evangeliaries and their writing, which looks actually brilliant. We can see also some pictures like this. We have a drawing in one of the evangeliaries showing a new technology in Turabdin. It is from 1851. This is the first telegraph line from Constantinopolis here, from Istanbul, from the church to the mosque in Baghdad, which is Babel. It's actually very nice. This is the first evidence, proof for the telegraph line between Constantinople and Baghdad, between Istanbul and Baghdad. So we have, based on this picture, we have another 3 drawings in manuscripts, the same way, the same descriptions, and so on. It's very interesting how people from Azekh, this is from Azekh, how they described the way words go from one place to the other. They fly. The words fly immediately from one place to the other. It is the description, so we see this technology entering Turabdin. And she showed pictures from Midyat, for example, which we don't have anymore. So you see, the churches, of course, but many houses look different now. In the 60s, we have here people, and this is her car. When she visited our villages, the villagers would have some relatives in Germany, and of course they have to send with her presents to their people in Germany. Since they thought there is nothing to eat in Germany, the majority of the presents are food. So bargel, I don't know, local cheese, buzar'e, such kind of stuff, sending them from Turabdin to Germany. And since they overloaded the car, once the car broke in Mardin, and she had big problems to come to Germany. So it's very nice story how she managed to come with this stuff to home. And actually she photographed very important people and also, let's say, figures and artifacts. For example, this man here is the late Khoury of Medan, Khoury Yohanna, who was in Germany and passed away in 2018, I think. And what he holds in his hands is the evangeliary of the village of the Mar Yaqub Church in Medan, which we don't have anymore. So it has been stolen some years ago, and now it's gone. We have nothing in our hands. So this is very interesting to have this picture. And this lady presenting the local handmade bread in Midyat, handmade bread in the Tanuro. Maybe this is a dawakto, a term we don't have anymore in our language, but in that time we had dawakto. This is the lady who used to bake the bread in the Tanuro, because not everybody could do it properly. Then again, we have another person here as a young man. This is with the taller Khoury, Qasho Yohan from Medan. This is actually how the church of Mar Yaqub in Medan looked like in 65. If you go to Medan now, it looks totally different. It has nothing to do with this kind of well, partly the architecture may be seen, but actually it is something very new now. And this, this smaller man is Qasho Bedros Shushe from Midyat, who was accompanying Frau HELGA ANSCHÜTZ through the villages. And later we will see him again. And the small child, I don't know who it is. Maybe the person knows herself, or it looks like a small girl. And we have pictures from Mor Gabriel. I don't know how many of these people are still under us and how many know themselves from this picture. These are the so-called seminary pupils, of whom many became priests later. And we have, of course, pictures from the Easter celebration, Aido Rabo, yeah. And it's actually very nice to see the people, how they look like, not like what we had before, because this is a celebration. This is the day of the Easter, so you have to wear yourself new. So everything is new here. And then we have these figures. The young man standing there is Isa Malfon or Isa Garis. And then we have the two bishops, Bishop Afrem of Turabdin here, and Bishop Yaqub of Iwardo, yeah, who was at that time in Mor Gabriel. And another picture, which is, I think it is very important. Well, if you look here, you have a small lake of Midyat, which doesn't exist anymore. I think it is a parking plot or something like that now. So no lake in Midyat anymore. And just here on the shore of this lake, this is the so-called Abbara. I think it's called Abbara. If I'm wrong, the Midyadis should correct me. And you see still the traces of the bullets of the genocide of 1915. And still, you can see them now if you go to Midyat, but here they look much more fresh, actually. Yeah. So this is also a very interesting picture we have from HELGA ANSCHÜTZ. Now, HELGA ANSCHÜTZ traveled through Turabdin. She went to Tehran. She went to Iraq, and so on. This is what she did, and I think we have to mention her publications now, which is not that known among our people, or at least in America, in the English-speaking world. HELGA ANSCHÜTZ is not a known figure, not a known author that much, but those who can read German, of course, they know this very important book. She wrote this, the most important of her books, Die Syrischen Christen vom Turabdin, published in 85. However, she edited at least 3 or 4 other books, mainly on Oriental Christianity or minorities of the Middle East. And what she did different than other experts of the Middle East, let's say Orientalists of that time, she was writing regularly in the German newspapers. Regularly. So from the 60s onwards, she has many articles in German, famous and most important newspapers like Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, but also Süddeutsche Zeitung and others. She wrote a lot of articles about our people. Actually, the Syriac people are known at that time mostly by her publications, by her articles to the people in Germany. And she started doing from the end of the 60s, but the beginning of the 70s, she started doing documentaries for the German television stations on Syriac Christians, what we call Syrische Christen. Yeah. And she gave hundreds of lectures in different associations, churches, political groups, parties, and so on the Christians of the Middle East, partly on Yazidis, partly also on the Jewish minorities, but mostly on the Syriac Christians. And she founded at least, or co-founded 2 supporting associations. I don't know whether this is the correct word, Hilfsorganisationen, Hilfsvereine. One of them is the Mar Gabriel Verein zur Unterstützung syrischer Christen. And it's still not that active, but still alive in Hamburg. and the other was the Lebanon Verein, together with her husband, Bulos Harb. However, the most important publication of her is the book Die syrischen Christen vom Turabdin, which is a description of the life in Turabdin between the 60s and the 80s. So there it is the most crucial time for Turabdin, because this is the time in which people started leaving their homeland. And Helga is describing actually this movement, and she questions whether they can stay or they will leave. So she thinks of a community being between what she calls Beharrung, so staying in there as they are, stagnation, or even dissolvement. And this is actually what she was describing. And then, of course, in the 90s, we have almost the dissolvement of the Turabdin through migration or mass migration, which she has accompanied later. We mentioned the documentaries, and Helga, as I said, from the end of the 60s, she produced documentaries for the German television. At that time, we didn't have private televisions. We had three, one, two, and three, I think, and then each Bundesland had its own television. So the three one. So, but her films and documentaries appeared mostly or have been published in the ZDF, ARD, and so on. So still they are maybe. No, they are not available. Part of them, partly they are still online available. You see, the first film is called Vergessene Christen, the Forgotten Christians of the Middle East or of the Orient, and the mission among the Christians from the 69, and then colonization through the agriculture, I think this Wirtschaftsformen, freedom through the Quran, women in Morocco, so women feminist movement in Morocco, and the Jews in Marrakesh. These are the first films she did herself. And then from 71, she started working together with her husband, Boris Harb, who was from Lebanon. And she did the film in 71, Syrische Christen, and then Ökumene in Iraq. As you can see the names of these many films. And here are the others. In the 70s, she went to Iran and did two films at least on Iran. And she accompanied later also about the Christians during Khomeini times and published also documentaries on them. You can see we have 1979, the fate of the Christians of Turabdin. And one of the last films was, will the Christians in Turkey survive? Or can they survive? Yeah. So these are the documentaries of Helga Anschütz. And now, she died in 13th May 2006, and she had in her testimony written that she wanted to be buried in the Syrian Orthodox monastery of Morafrim. And her grave is there, as you can see here. I visited the grave together with Kasho Bedros priest Bedros Shushe, whom we had in the picture, in one of her pictures, who accompanied her all the time or many times in Turabdin. Now, the question was why we want to give this prize on her name. I think a person who dedicated her life, almost all of her life, to our people and left behind a name among our people is worth to be mentioned with a prize on her name. Some of you know that she mentioned, or she put me as a heir of hers. And after agreeing with her husband to divide and to get something from her heritage, I decided to start with keeping her name alive among our people with this HELGA ANSCHÜTZ Prize and to give it to people who are in the same way, dedicating their life to the promoting our people in the societies in which we are, mostly in the diaspora. And the prize should be given always to a Syriac Christian who is doing academic but also non-academic high quality research and publication on our people in here, mostly in the Western countries. So this is what we are doing, and this prize is given every 2 years to one person, and it is I don't know the English word, but by 1,000 euros each. Now, who received this prize until today? We started with this prize in 2008, and in that time we decided to give the prize to Jan Betsaouai, who is really one of the people who, without being tired, working all his life, doing research and publishing, editing, helping others to publish, and promoting the issue, especially Saifo and other issues of our history. So he received the prize in 2008, and at the same time, we decided to give it to Malfono Isa Garis, Isa Gülten from Mor Gabriel Monastery, for his long, really very, very long period of being the teacher, Malfono. So it's not like everybody, but this is the Malfono of Mor Gabriel. So so many students, priests, and also bishops learned and has been educated by Malfono Isa Garis. That's why we decided to give him the second prize. And then the next one was Malfono Mikhail Abdallah from Poland. He is the only one really active in Poland, but he's doing almost like 100 people promoting our issue in Poland. So we are very thankful to him. And the next person is Nouras Atto, who did a lot in anthropology about the way of life of Syriac Christians, especially in the diaspora. And she is still working on that, mostly together with Sonar, her husband. So this is from 2010. Then there was a long period of silence because in this time I moved to Norway, as some of you know, and when I came back to Berlin, to Germany, slowly, but we established the prize again, or we continued with the prize now in a new form. The first person in then was Emil Gorgis, who received this prize, especially for the translation of the books he did. First of all, Berule Bdire, which is translated to German at that time. So it was very important to have this book translated to German. So we decided to give Emil Gorgis the prize. He's actually from Berlin. I don't know whether he managed to join now or not. He was trying. The next person to receive the prize was Binyamin Haddad in Iraq. I don't know how many people know Binyamin Haddad. I think this is the most productive person. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. So together with my colleagues from my institute here, we visited him in 2023. Yes, in 23 at his home, and he was still very active, although tired, sick, but he was still writing. So, and he published really a lot. I can't mention all his publications, his dictionaries, his historical books, his editions, his manuscripts, and so on. So he received the prize in 2018. And then the Abud Zaytun was the next one to receive the prize. Aboud Zaytoun, at that time, he received the prize because of his work on the Syriac music. So he gathered all. Actually, he did a um, new archive for Assyrian, of course, in his term, Assyrian music. And he published, in addition to the archive, he published 3 volumes, very valuable volumes on modern Syriac and music. And after that, after he received actually the prize, not after, but almost the same time, he started digging in the Irutho publications in journals and so on. So a really great job what he has done. He started and he's still continuing to unearth all this material of the Irutho time, the Intibah time, and we are very thankful to him. The next to receive the prize is Martina Aras, who did her PhD in theology, and she's working as a scholar, postdoc scholar at the University of Paderborn in Germany in theology. And we want to promote our ladies, especially to help them to be more known to the people, because our society is unfortunately until today more patriarchal. So we have much more men in the society speaking who are in the presence. Yeah. So we wanted to change a little bit the picture, to have also ladies, and she is one of the first doing a PhD in Syriac studies in theology, and she is one of the first, or one of the very early ladies continuing in academia, and we are very happy and hope that she will continue and do much more in near years, in the next years. And we expect, of course, the publication of more books. She's working very hard, so we are happy to have her. Now in 2004, the way of, we have to think from the beginning, and of course there are many other people, but there is one person who did maybe much more than all of us for Syriac studies or for Syriac people in general, and we couldn't give the prize to any other than George Kiraz, who would receive and deserve this prize at the first, of course. But at the beginning, we were looking only on our people here, in Europe, from Turabdin, people whom we see and talk with here. So we left George a little bit aside, but he deserves, of course, the Nobel Prize from us. But we don't have the Nobel Prize, George, unfortunately. But at least a small sign of respect to your job, to your work, which I'm not talking about now much, because we have now Barbara, who is going to say something about you.
Thank you, Melfono. It gives me great pleasure to deliver the Laudatio today. I knew you even before we met in Berlin. I think many, many people have the same experience because of your international presence. But since you spent some time with my family in Berlin during your master degree some 34 years ago, I'm very, very happy to be able to deliver the Laudatio from Berlin. George Anton Kiraz was born in Bethlehem. If you're interested, you can read Melfono George's book, published in 2022, Water the Willow Tree. It is about his youth in Bethlehem. He immigrated to the US at the age of 18 in 1983 and settled in Los Angeles. In 1990, he graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in engineering from California State University. After that, he moved to the UK to study Syriac studies, computer speech, and language processing at the University of Oxford, completing his master's degree in 1991. He went on to obtain his PhD in computational linguistics from the University of Cambridge in 1996. He got his PhD, but he started working on many projects long before that. In 1986, 3 years after living in the US, George Kiraz designed the first computer fonts for Syriac. Then, in 1998, George Kiraz and some colleagues created the Meltho fonts, which use Unicode and are the most popular Syriac fonts in the world. In 1992, while he was in Cambridge, George Kiraz and Sebastian Bruck tried to combine Syriac studies and computing, a project known as SYRCOM. And in 1996, George Kiraz and other colleagues registered the Syriac Computing Institute in New Jersey. From that year on, new developments and growth couldn't be stopped anymore. I can't list all the achievements, but I will highlight some of the most significant ones, at least for me. But instead of listing things in order, I will presently point out a few basic and current works. George Kiraz is the founder and director of Beth Mardutho. Beth Mardutho was the 1992 founded SYRCOM and is now a Syriac Studies Center for academics and the Syriac community. At the Beth Mardutho Institute, you will find different resources. The Meltho fonts, consisting of more than 20 Unicode open-type fonts, can be downloaded for free. Beth Mardutho expanded its activities in 2014 by holding its first summer courses in Syriac language. 14 students enrolled in the first class. Since then, many more students have successfully completed courses in beginning and intermediate Syriac, and not only Syriac, but Christian Arabic, to support their academic pursuits. And the next summer course will just start in June 16. One can find an online dictionary called Sidra. It was designed to be an open source electronic Syriac lexicon. It was the first of its kind, making collective scholarly knowledge of Syriac studies available online, of course, for free. The Hugoye Journal, which is an electronic journal for Syriac studies and has been published since 1998. In the Syriac, Middle Eastern scholar academic world, there's the famous Hugoye list, which is basically just an email distribution list. But if anyone has a question and can't find the answer, they will just ask the Hugoye list. This list was also created by George Kiraz, which could sometimes save your everyday question. In 2019, Beth Mardutho released a beta version of the Simtho, a Syriac thesaurus. It is a database of Syriac literature text, contains more than 7 million tokens with over 6 million words of text. And it's continuing to become bigger and bigger. Many scholars I've met in the last 3 years say it was one of the most helpful tools they could imagine having. The Beth Gazo is a unique resource of Beth Mardutho. It serves as a compendium of Syriac church melodies available to congregations around the world. The melodies were first recorded in 1960 by Patriarch Jacob III and were digitized as audio files by Beth Mardutho in 1997. But in 2018, Beth Mardutho, the team, developed a mobile app with the aim of helping priests, deacons, and choirs learn the many complex melodies of this Syriac tradition. The app enables users to distinguish now between singers and choirs, so they can listen to different types of voices, not only to the voice of the Patriarch. The initiative is part of Beth Mardutho's efforts to preserve Syriac history and culture, and to build bridges between the community and academics. The app is available for both, of course, Android and iOS. The app's primary function is to serve as an archive, ensuring the preservation of Syriac church melodies for generations to come, as it is impossible to start a liturgy without knowing the melody. Most importantly, he is always combining Syriac and computing. The Goerge project is a 21st century project that will transform Syriac studies and raise the profile of the subject. What does it exactly mean? This project aims to automatically transcribe handwritten Syriac documents written in Estrangelo y Syriac-catholic with up to 98% accuracy. So the traditional way of editing text by hand is about to change forever. On top of that, he founded with his wife, Christine Kiraz, Georgia's Press, a publishing company that specializes not only in Syriac studies, but Middle Eastern studies, ancient Near Eastern studies, biblical studies, Jewish studies, and other studies. George Kiraz has published over 40 papers on Syriac studies and computational linguistics, and is now the director of the Antioch Bible Project. He has authored and co-authored many books, such as the Georgia's Encyclopedic Dictionary of Syriac Heritage. This encyclopedia currently holds 622 entries written by 76 contributors and can be accessed easily as well online. He published the book Comparative Edition of the Syriac Gospels, in which he compares 4 different Syriac Bible versions, and the new Syriac Primer, an introduction to the Syriac language, which serves as an introduction to the language, and many, many more. George has taught Syriac at Princeton University, Rutgers University, and the Paulus Institute in Jerusalem. So he's not only publishing and developing, but he's also teaching and passing on his knowledge. I could go on for a very long time, but as I mentioned before, George studied computer science. So if anyone is something is still unclear, or you become curious and want to know more about the mentioned or not mentioned projects, you can read them online. George Kiraz is the father of 3 children and a deacon in the Syriac Orthodox Church. We want to thank you for your passion and your studies for your Merdutho. You have combined your life with your studies and created resources that people can use every day without restrictions. You opened platforms in times when people didn't know that they would need them one day, and you still continue this path with an unbreakable passion. In your book, Water the Willow Tree, you mentioned that for about 100 years, no father and son of the Kiraz family had been born on the same soil. This information leads to many questions. So while many of us share same or similar experiences and need to take time to understand our identity, you have shown us how to handle it by doing and sharing it. You lived in the Star Street in Bethlehem, and for now you are shining far away from Bethlehem through your work. It is my great pleasure to congratulate you on winning the HELGA ANSCHÜTZ Prize. We are more than happy to have you here today and can't wait to hear what new project ideas you have to share with us. Congratulations to you, my fellow Judge Kiraz.
Yes, so thank you very much, Barbara. Yes, congratulations, Josh. Before we go forward, I wanted to show the website of Beth Marduto to those who do not know it yet. Just a little bit of what Barbara said, you can find on the website bethmarduto.org, and you see the Meltho Lab, and then you have the encyclopedia, the summer classes, the Thesaurus Simto, and you can continue going to Qoruyo, dictionaries, the journal Hugoye, and you have the download center as well with the apps she mentioned, applications she mentioned, and the fonts you can download, and so on. So this is just for those who do not know it yet. Another thing is now to show you to go back to our presentation. George, I wanted, of course, to hand over now the certificate to you, which is written in German. And you get it now virtually. So just think of getting it, like an angel is coming and bringing it to you. You are from Bethlehem. you know how these things function. So, and then from my side as well, my congratulations, George, to you and to the family.
Pushkafo.
Pushkafo, yes. Actually, just to show you, this is Freie Universität. Not readable. Why? I don't know. So at least this is the, yeah. So, George.
It's my time to speak, but I'm speechless. Thank you so much, of course. I don't know how to express my thanks. I am really grateful for this. It is a humbling experience. I always say we do what we do because we love doing what we do. And because we love doing what we do, that means we get some satisfaction out of it. So we don't need a tawdi, we don't need a thank you, we don't need anything. But it is really, as I said, humbling to receive this. Thank you so much. I am honored. You've asked me, Shabo, to say something about my childhood, or I cannot remember exactly.
Well, I think what links you with many of these people here is that you are originally also from southeastern Turkey.
Correct. We can start from there. My family is originally from a small village or small town that probably nobody has heard of. It's called Ivos. Ivos is at the mouth, at the beginning of the river there in upper Mesopotamia. But people say we are from Harput because if you are from New Jersey, like where I am from, if I go to Europe, I tell people I am from New York because nobody will know Piscataway. But the family comes from Ivos, which was a small village mixed of Syriac, Armenians, and a small minority of Muslims, according to a census from the 1890s. And at some point, they may or may have not actually gone to Harput. We don't know, but always in my family, they said we are from Harput. I myself did not know Ivos. My father's uncle was a scribe. He used to write Shimo and Anqitho. So we have a family Shimo, and the name is, he writes his name in Suryoyo, Shamosho Giragos, and then there's Olaf Youth Bay. If you read it, it's like Ibusoyo, didn't know what it is until many, many years later, when a relative who was helping me to do the family tree, he said, George, you're really not from Harput, you are from Ivos. We are all from Ivos. And then it clicked what I saw in the Shimo. It was Shamosho Giragos Ivosoyo. And as it turns out that quite a number of Harputlis are actually from Ivos, like Robert Gabriel and his father, Paulos Gabriel. We also think of them, we say they are Harputlis, Harputoye, but Robert told me they are from Ivos, and we share that origin. If they moved to Harput, they may have moved there because of the 1895 massacres. But then after the 1915 Saifo, they left, as many people went through Adana. As many of you may know, that the Suryoye had an orphanage in Adana. Tamim Simkath started there. And my father was born there in Adana, as a number of people of that generation, like Jabra Ibrahim Jabra also, they were born in Adana on the route to Palestine. After Adana, they went to Lebanon. Life was not, were not able to make a living there. Went to Palestine, went to Haifa, lived in Haifa for some time, then to Jerusalem, and then most of their lives they lived in Jerusalem. And that's where my father built his life, basically. Maybe he was, all that generation. We don't know when they were born. So he may have been 4 years old, 5 years old when he got to Jerusalem. My grandfather was a baker, and my father then had to leave school after the 4th grade or the 4th class because they didn't have money, although the school was free. But the parent had to pay for the books and for the pens and the copy books, and that was even too much. He was sent to a body shop. Here we call body shop, I don't know what you call it in Europe, to fix the car, a garage, to learn that technique. And he learned that technique, and bit by bit, he started buying cars that were damaged and fixing them and selling them, and then he made a good living out of that. But although he only finished the 4th class or the 4th grade, he not only spoke, of course, he spoke Turkish and Armenian. This is the language of the people from that area, from Kharput. But by now he knew Arabic. He learned French in school in the first 4 years. So we have a notebook from him. He's writing. He's putting his name in everything in French. And when the British came and took over, began to learn English and knew English. And this person who's only has done 4th grade, when I was in high school, I would go to my father for English spelling and to help me.
Yes, but then
And
yes.
this is how they basically lived. And then in 1948, of course, there was the war, and then he had built a house in Jerusalem. He lost the house, and they went to Bethlehem. And then I was born in Bethlehem, and trouble started when I was born. I grew up in the Suryoyo church. I learned Suryoyo in the church, like how our kids and our children are sent to church. Abuna taught me basically and taught my sisters. My father and my mother, they always insisted in the summer that we go and we learn Suryoyo with Abuna. The class used to be a bit big every summer. It starts with 30, 40 children. But then after 1 month, it's only me and my sisters. People stop coming. It was every year like that. We were taught from Qarabashi's books. And I have the 4th book, which technically is the 6th one, because you have Qlido 1 and Qlido 2, with some marks by myself and my sister, which means we must have finished at least Terbi'oyo with Abuna. And then after that, I used to go to our head deacon. It was called Shammas Jubran Khazike. He would put a chair in front of the church. We have a lot of tourists in Bethlehem, and would open the church for the tourists just to bring income to the church. And I would go in the morning, in the summer, of course, every morning, and he will teach me the Texoyotho. He started with baptism and wedding and so on and so forth, so that I could also learn the Texe in the church one-on-one. And one day I was going there one summer, said, I wonder what Texo he is going to teach me this year. So we went there, and then he said, wait, I'm going to bring a book. He went, he brought a book, and he gave me, and that's how we learned Texo. He would bring me the Texo, read, and you read the Texo, and you learn the Texo. That's how we learned. So I thought, okay, it's another Texo. It's easy. We begin to write the Texo. And then next line, I'm trying to read it, becoming more difficult. I'm trying to spell it out, and it's not the Suryoyo I know, and it was Gershuni. So that's how I learned Gershuni. Today we have books in all languages for our church services, but during the 1980s, at least in Bethlehem, it was not allowed to have a book on the altar that's not in Suryoyo letters. So it was not possible to read anything that's not written at least in Suryoyo letters. So for this reason, it was only this deacon, Jubran Khazike, that was always reading the letter from St. Paul, because you have to read the letter in Arabic so people can understand. But it's a Gershuni edition, yeah, because you're not allowed to take on the altar books that are not in Arabic, in Syriac script. And as he was getting old, he wanted to teach me so that I can. The purpose was not to teach me a texo. I understood that the purpose was to be able to read the epistle of St. Paul, so he doesn't have to do it anymore. And that's what happened. By the end of the summer, I was reading the letter of St. Paul until I left Bethlehem in 1983. I was the one reading it. I don't know what happened after that, whether he went back to reading it or they had to teach somebody else in Gershuni. But now I think you are allowed to open the Van Dyke Bible and read from it. It was not possible for me. And since we are on the story, I want to I just remembered another story, which is not in my memoirs, because my memoirs, my book, Water the Willow Tree, finishes in Bethlehem. This is in Los Angeles. I think I went in 1983. I think in 96, Patriarch Zekka visited Los Angeles, and I was the one holding the firmo. And then he went to read the gospel, and all our gospels are big manuscripts, and again they are either Gershuni, or if they are not Gershuni, if they are in Suryoyo, the priest will look at the Suryoyo and will do immediate translation to Arabic. But the Bible that we had there was in Gershuni. It was a photocopy of a manuscript. So he opened this big Evangelion, like the one that Malfana Shabo showed you the priest was carrying. They're all big. He opened it. Then he goes to his pocket and he takes out this very little tiny pocket Arabic Bible, not only in the Arabic script, but it's a Protestant Bible. And imagine my horror. I've never seen such a thing in my entire life. I am looking in utter disbelief. my patriarch, first time in my life I see a patriarch. Of course, I am so excited. And it's taking not only a big, it's a pocket Bible, it's a Protestant Bible, it's in the Arabic script and on the altar. So that was, of course, not only the only shock. Immigration itself was a number of shocks, cultural shocks and whatnot. But I also learned about other communities, because in Bethlehem, it's only us people from Bethlehem. Of course, we are minority, the people from Harput. Most people are Shabo's people, from Midan, from Isfes, from Azekh, from Masarte. But we are all in Bethlehem a cohesive community. Now I am in Los Angeles, and while in the church, the cohesiveness is becoming less. The church consisted of people from Palestine, about 1/3. The other third were from the villages of Homs, Fayruza, Sadad, Zaydal, and those areas. And a third was from Mardin/Turabdin. And it was a new experience for me, because people are coming with different liturgical traditions that sometimes would cause conflicts when you are doing liturgy. And my life basically now in Los Angeles was also centered in the church, and now I started going to the university, and I wanted to study computers, and I went, and English is not the best. We knew English because of tourists and because we studied English, so I spoke English. But when I described to the people in the college what I need, they put me in the electrical engineering degree. So I'm studying. One story, I don't know if we have time. I will just say 2 stories and I will stop. About language problem. I went to a physics class, and the teacher is talking about acceleration, and they speaking fast, of course, for me, and I don't understand anything. The whole thing, I did not understand anything in the lecture about this acceleration. Then the bell rang, and the students are running out, and the teacher said, wait. And then he said, I did not tell you the unit of acceleration. Then he went on the board and he wrote meters per second square, m per s square. I said, he's talking about tasarru. This whole bloody hour, he's talking about tasarru, and I recognized it from the unit when he said meters per second square. So that was my initial life. And then when I took my first computer class, it was with punch cards on mainframe machines and whatnot. I went to my teacher and I said, I want to make a program so people can write in my language, Syriac. And I started to explain to him what a Syriac is. And then he looked at me, he said, this is very difficult. He said, you have to learn assembly language, machine language, because you cannot do it in these programming languages now. And that was the beginning of that journey. And Barbara told you the rest of it. But again, Taudi, so much for this. I am really honored. I cannot.
George, and we are honored. We are honored actually having you among us, and especially having you here in front of us to see you. Of course, there are many questions which might somebody have here, and we will have time, half an hour, to discuss, to open the discussion. I just wanted to add that you are Shamosho Evangeloio. You are deacon of the church. you are not only a scholar outside like me, but in addition, you are very, very active within the church, and you are a deacon. So you are serving your people in both sides, so or in many aspects. So thank you very much for this, George. Okay, I think you have seen and heard George, and we talked about his life. And you didn't mention that your mother is from Turabdin, but your mother is from Turabdin, so not everything is from Kharput.
Yes, from Azakh, yes.
Yes, so 50% is from Azakh.
You can claim Azakh.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much, George, and congratulations again from my side. And we have already Aboud who wants to ask a question. Yes, please, Aboud.
Shlomo Brechamsho, Shlomo Malfono, George. It's the first time we talk together, maybe at least virtually, but of course we are in contact. Congratulations from my side also for this prize. You deserve, of course, more. My question is dealing with my current projects regarding what I would say, deciphering the Gershuni writings. I know Malfono Afrem is working on that, but maybe you can give also some insight. Is it possible to use maybe AI or something similar to transfer the Gershuni script to Latin script, for example?
Yeah, the transfer of Gershuni to Latin script is going to be difficult for Turkey. You're talking about Turkish, right? Ottoman Turkish.
Yes.
Yeah. Because basically half of the word is not there. All the vowels are not there, and only the consonants and only long vowels all of you know. Now AI is possible, but to train AI you need sufficient data, and the worst case scenario is that you have to finish transcribing everything that you have to put it in the AI to train the machine, and then there's nothing else to give the machine to translate. But there are some new systems that people are developing that is based on small data. So at least it is worth looking into to see if that is possible by basically giving it what you already have transcribed. That means giving the Suryoyo and what you already have put into Turkish, and then you tell the machine, okay, go learn, and then you give it the new text, and you have to see how much. But the main problem is that we don't have enough data. I mean, it's only these magazines.
Well, Malfono, we have enough data. For example, we have the whole Intibah magazine is already transcribed. We have a lot, mostly all Bethnaharian issues are transcribed. So we have a lot of data. My question is the doing at the end, but maybe we have to talk bilaterally about that.
Yeah. No, but what I mean by enough data is you need enough data to train the machine, and all of Iruthu and all of Bethnahrin and all of these things is not sufficient data. Like you need millions of words to train usually, and you don't have millions of words. Like the corpus is not that big. That's the challenge. But
that seems impossible then, no?
Yeah, well, no, but there are people, we can talk to some people who work on small data training, like training with small data, and see how much, whether it's possible. So we have to look into it. But write to me, I'll put you in touch with some people. We can do it that way.
Actually, George, if I may interrupt, this week, Nicola Atas sent me 2 manuscripts, prayers and so on in Turkish Gershuni Ottoman from Urfa in your archive, I think. So there might be much more material than we know. It's not only the journals from the Intibah times. So maybe there is much more. It's just not discovered yet.
Yes, and there are manuscripts. I remember I remember one day I was at Gabriel Akyun's house many years ago. He showed me manuscripts he has. They are in Ottoman, like my uncle used to, my father's uncle used to write in Ottoman. I didn't know this, but we have a project to collect the colophons of St. Mark's Monastery manuscripts. So I have George Frick was doing it for me, and he said, Malfono, here is one from Kharput. And it was written by my father's uncle. It is all in Ottoman. So there are manuscripts, true. The corpus is bigger than the magazines.
Yes.
Yeah.
May I add another question? Do you know of Turkish scholars interested in this Turkish? It is a Turkish literature. It's part of Turkish literature. Who are interested in it?
I don't know of any Turkish scholars who are interested in it. There's one scholar who's, I don't know if they'll be interested in that type of literature, but my father also left a notebook, and there's a lot of poetry. And when he was a teenager, he wrote these poems, or at least copied. That was my question. Is he copying them, or is he authoring them? He was between 16 and 20 years old. They are in Turkish, and they are not in the Arabic script. They are in the Latin script, but not Ataturk's Latin script. It's in my father's Latin script of Turkish. And I still don't understand why. Very much French influenced the way the vowels are. And we had a speaker coming to Princeton talking about modern Turkish literature. And I told him if he can take a look, I just want to know whether are these known poems or is my father authoring? His conclusion is that my father was authoring them. So I know that scholar, but I don't know others who, who might be interested in Gershuni.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh. Do we have any other questions from your side? I'm just checking here whether I received any questions per WhatsApp. No, no questions here. Josh, maybe we can have a look on your next project. Which I didn't mention, excuse me, because your book about the history of the Syriacs in America.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can say something about that because it's important actually also for Aboud's work.
Yes, let me grab it. That's this one here.
Yes.
Yeah. It covers the Syria in America from 1895 to 1995. The Syria began to come to America in the 1800s. The earliest parcel I found some information about is from, I think, the 1820s. Some Shamshono and scribe from Mosul, who, when the missionaries went, he was working with the missionaries in Mosul. He went with them and must have settled in the Boston area. But then we have the earliest about Kharputlis coming also in the Boston area or Worcester, Massachusetts, about an hour from Boston. That becomes a hub. Also, many Armenians from Kharput are also going there. And then the Diyarbakirlis are coming to New Jersey, Patterson, Bergen, Northern Jersey. And some people from Turabdin are going to Central Falls. So these are the main three hubs. And by the 1910s, 1920s, unknown to all of these people, there are Suryoye going to Detroit from the Homs areas, Zayd al-Sadad, Fayruza, and there is a report in Beth Nahrin, I think, or in Irutho, no, I think in Beth Nahrin. The only reason they learned about it, some businessman, Suryoya businessman, went to Detroit for business. He came back and he told them there are Suryoya there. And that's how they established the connection between each other. And that was, I believe, in the 1920s. They were forming many organizations and many associations and journalism, basically by Syriac Orthodox Suryoya began in here. I believe that Intibah is before Khartoum, before Ashur Yusuf, I believe, maybe by a year or so. And there was this idea of Irutho and or Intibah or awakening, ideas of nationalism, disappointments in the Ottoman system, because they thought with the changing of the constitution and with the Tanzimat that the minorities are going to rise and they will have their rights. So Na'um Fa'iq, they were within that Ottoman context working when they were in Diyarbakir, but then there was big disappointment in when 1895 and then 1915, and none of that materialized. And it's only in about 1910s they gathered in Patterson, and they said, if we don't have a qasho, it's not going to work here. We're going to die here if we don't have a qasho. So how to get a qasho? They chose one Shamosho, whose father was a qasho in Diyarbakir. They chose a Shamosho, and they had to put him on a ship, sent him to Jerusalem to be ordained. And then he came back, and he had to bring manuscripts with him to do a wedding, to do funeral. They needed texto, so he brought with him so he can. And of course, no printed books, all manuscripts. And the first Kurobo they did was in, I believe, St. Luke. It was called Episcopalian Church in Patterson. The Episcopalians opened their arms to the Suryoya. It was not possible to do services in Catholic churches because this is before the time of Vatican II, before ecumenism. The world was closed. But the Episcopalians, who are an offshoot of the Anglicans here in the US, they opened their arms. But of course, opening their arms means that also they started to go to Bible study there and everything, and many would leave the church and they become Episcopalian. So most of the Diyarbakirlis and the Harputlis did become Episcopalian. There's an interesting letter from Na'um Fa'iq to Patriarch Afram Barsom, who was a bishop at the time. He said, everybody at some point, Myth Angolu, they're all going to become Anglicans, i.e. Myth Angolu, not to become English. Myth Angolu, they're going to become Episcopalians. And he was right. Most either became Episcopalians or became Armenians. The brother of the scribe, my father's uncle, his brother named Barsom, came to America in 1910s, and he used to write letters, but then they lost touch. And I remember we had his picture in Bethlehem, a very nice portrait of him in Bethlehem. But when he came here, there was no contact anymore. And one time, my father came here, although we were in Los Angeles, he came to New Jersey just to look for his uncle. And they went to that address where the letters used to come from, but it was many decades after, and nobody knew anybody there. One time I was in a conference with an Armenian priest. He said, you're from Kharput. We have many people from Kharput in my parish. I said, yeah, but we're Suryoya, we're not Armenian. oh, he said, I have George Kirazian. I said, yeah, maybe his relative. I said, we're Syriac, not Armenian, but send me, no problem, like send me the name. And finally, I talked to him, and I thought maybe there is a connection with with Barsom. And Barsom was his godfather. Of course, we thought it's a different Barsom, but then I said, I have a picture of my Barsom, and I was going to San Diego where this Josh Kirazian lives. I told him, I'll bring the picture and let's compare. And it was the same Barsom. And it's a pity because my father was looking for him, and he's buried now in San Diego. So we could have taken my father to the grave at least, but we didn't know at the time. So
Yes.
that's what happened to the Suryoye.
Yes, yes. Abu, do you have another question?
Yes, for sure, because Malfono is talking about my working area. So
Yes.
maybe Malfono, you heard that we published a book of the writings of Sanhari Bali. It's in German so far, but we are working on the English version of that. So I'm very curious if you know about where the whereabout of the magazine of Sanhari Bali, because we have only one issue out of 18 numbers. So we missed 17 issues of his Saudat Oromoy, and he's later renamed that to Saudat Othoroy. Do you have any hints where we can find that?
No, unfortunately not. I don't have access to any, and all the old timers of this area are gone. Only the great niece of Naum Fa'iq, she comes to church a lot, and I always talk to her. But most of them, that generation, there are some people around, but they don't attend church that often. But Sauted Oromoye, which I learned from your book, that was renamed Sauted Othoroye. I didn't know that. There are no copies. And one of the reasons we have even Kawkab Madinho from Diyarbakir, because Naum Fa'iq was very smart. He made sure to take a copy even of Kawkab Madinho that he did in Diyarbakir, and he deposited them in the New York Public Library. And this is why we have a lot of the issues. And I remember in Los Angeles, when I heard about this, I don't know how I heard about it, that they had it. I was a student and I had no money, whatsoever. But I ordered the microfilm. And I believe I sent you a PDF digitization of this microfilm. I ordered it when I was in my early 20s with no money. They made me 3 microfilms. This is how I learned about it. I came for a visit here, visited my aunt, and we had a youth convention. And then I went to the New York Public Library. I said, "What do you have anything Suryoyo?" And then they showed me. I showed them physically those newspapers. It was first time in my life that I showed them. And I said, "How can I get a copy?" And they said, "You have to order a microfilm." And I ordered the microfilm. And then they showed me Huyodo, which, of course, I didn't know there was Huyodo at that time in the we're talking in the 1980s.
Yes, we received also Iruso from your source. Thank you very much.
Yes, yeah, they showed me Iruso, which I didn't know about.
Yes.
And yeah.
Even the granddaughter of Sanhari Bali don't have any issues. So
No,
I have
they,
a contact with her. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Dorothea Welteke is with us. You know her very well, our colleague
Yeah.
from the Humboldt University. She wrote her question on the in the chat, but Dorothea, can you ask yourself if you're able to do so? Yes. Dein Mikrofon, your microphone.
There we go. It will not hold, I think. Thank you so much, George. Congratulations, and thank you so much for all you have done for us. I'm sitting in the country in Germany, and our internet is very bad. And so it is probably you not, so it seems as if you were hearing me. But this may not hold. Just a little question. on your beautiful autobiography, what are the reactions that you get? And are people talking about their experiences to you? Does it open up a space for memory? And yeah, how does the book run, as it were?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I will be I will be in next week in Edinburgh talking about it. So I spoke about it at a number of universities. Malfono Shabo invited me. No, I can't. Was it last month, 2 months ago? I can't remember. A few months
Yes.
ago. Yeah, and I spoke about it there. So the reception is positive. Typically, when in university settings, people read it, the first thing that comes to their mind is Jabra Ibrahim Jabra's Al-Bi'r al-Ula, the first well, which is also an autobiography of himself. He is also Suryoyo in a Suryoyo context. So the discussion is compare and contrast. It's comparing it. Jabra is writing from a different era, obviously, and he is writing when he's in Baghdad without that much connection to the community. So although he does talk about his Suryoyo life and his Suryoyo beginnings in Bethlehem, but it's not as prominent as it is in my case. So I am more of a Suryoyo, or portraying myself as a Suryoyo. I think he's more portraying himself as a Palestinian. There's a different take on it. But I mean, so far I haven't had any critiques. One question one time I wrote is how did you decide on the style of presentation? And the honest truth is that I didn't sit and decide on a mode of presentation. I just sat and started writing, as if I'm telling you a story. Some of the stories I told you now, and Helen Vandenberg, who read it before publication because she had to write something on the back of the book. She said something. It's like sitting and listening to you. You hear the voice if you know the person.
Yes.
And of course, it is like that when you know the person. I just was reading the history of Islam by here in Princeton by Michael Cook, and then we had a book launch, and I told him exactly the same thing. It's like listening to you, the way he is discussing things. So if you know the author, usually it brings you a bit closer. Yeah.
Actually, for a Syriac Christian to read the book, you get a new perspective on the region at all. So you feel we have somebody there. You feel we have some activities there. We are something in Bethlehem. It's nice. It's very, very nice. So we are very proud of it. So I read it at once, I think, just without waiting. So it's very, very important book. I would be very happy to have many such books from Germany as well. Yes.
And also, although it is telling my story and the story of my family, but what many people, Suryoyo read it, said, you're telling our story too.
Of course. It is somehow struggling for surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, if you go now to Bethlehem, there is almost nothing.
Yeah.
Only the Budoche.
Yes. And also there is this idea. I mean, Barbara did mention, cited that no two Kirazes were born in the same spot or in the
Yes.
same place for almost 100 years. there is this feeling of homelessness, of perpetual diaspora, which might be the subtitle of my next memoirs, which is just in a perpetual diaspora. At least people from Turabdin can go to Turabdin and say, this is my village. You know, I cannot go to Ivos and say, this is my village. I have zero connections to it. I've never seen it. I still would like to hopefully visit it one day. I visited Harput, you know, you get emotional and this, that. But at the end of the day, in reality, you have zero connection to the actual spot. And Bethlehem and Palestine have their own problems also. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. Are there any other questions? If anybody has a question, then you can ask it now or wait for the next time. George is coming to Berlin. If you want to meet him personally, you have to come to Berlin in April, 10th to 12th, maybe. You are here in Berlin?
Yeah.
Yes. And then you're coming to the Syriac Studies Conference in July in Dalahosobe.
In Dalahosobe, yes.
Yes, 20th to 24th of July, we have this big Syriac conference. So everybody is invited to join, and you will have the possibility to talk to George and other experts too. Yes, so thank you very much, George. We have already almost 9:30. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We can stop here and continue with the so-called Jivate. Dorothea, I don't know whether you know what is Jivate, but this is the next step.
شهره